here's a question for you. Is America really as divided as it appears, or as we're told in certain media outlets? According to a recent survey by the Associated Press, turns out we have a lot more in common than people might think. So here's the truth about some hot topics that we see on the news, according to Axios. Most Republicans don't want to ban all abortions, and almost all Democrats don't want to allow abortions until birth. Most college professors aren't trying to silence conservatives or turn kids into liberals. Instead, they are teaching math, physics, and biology. Most people aren't fighting on Twitter or X. Turns out the majority of Americans never even tweet at all. Most people aren't cheering insults seen on Fox News or MSNBC. In fact, less than 2% of Americans are even watching those shows. So are we really more united than we think? And who benefits from thinking, Jeff, that we are so divided?
I don't know who benefits, and I don't know why we are so divided. And I've said this for a long time. What I'm about to say is that 10% of the rhetoric you hear makes up 90% of the internet. I keep saying that. I don't think it clicks with people. 10%, that means 90% of the people aren't even involved in the conversation. It's 10% on the far left and on the far right that are making these conversations. My problem with these whole things, I get the correctiveness of the culture. I get all that. When it seeps in to industries and the business that we're in, and you're hiring and firing based off these stereotypes, that's when I have a problem with it. Let the crazies be crazy on the internet. When I travel the world, I've met nothing but good around the world, not just in this country. And I've been across this country on shows too. Everyone inviting me into their homes, everyone kind, everyone around the world kind. I've been on TV for 15 years now. Not one person has ever come up to me in all my years and said something derogatory to my face. Do I get it every day online? Of course. That's 10% of the people. We have to look to the good and put your phones down, stop looking, because it's curated. It's just like old school Eastern Russia. They're putting these things on the wall and they're saying, this is our leader. In North Korea, this is our leader and he could do no wrong. Yeah. That is what the phone is doing to your mind when you're stuck in one place and not seeing other angles.
That's beautiful. Said. I will also say people think undocumented immigrants are rushing to steal your job. False. Data shows rarely happen. Democrats don't want you to have a gun. False. 80% think the right to own a gun is important. I think the term "when there's war, business goes up" is what is going on here. Discord and disorganization causes people to get money because it gets you to give and stand on platforms and raise money for your side or raise money for your side instead of compromising, which actually saves money in the long run. So when you have disorganization or discord, you get to win more. You financially get a windfall from everything you're promoting and saying they're the bad guys and we're the good guys. That causes financial gain, but not for us, for the extremists that you're talking about. So I agree with Jeff on that.
Yeah, division is very big business. And, you know, we say it all the time on the show. And in context, it works, but most of the time it's taken out of context, and it's like, we want to be galvanized. We want to be inspired. That's the thing. Everyone's looking for someone to be the catalyst to their inspiration. And when you have division, it's very easy to do because it's black and white. It's right and wrong.
It's binary, right?
When you find someone who is speaking your truth or the way that you would like to tell it, that elevates them. It elevates whoever is behind them, financially backing them. And then it also creates these subgroups of people, and that is a lot of money for people. When you say you want to be galvanized and inspired, everyone isn't meant to be a leader, but there's so many opportunities for people who have no business in leadership to lead all the time because you have these subgroups of people. So when we talk about like being inspired or needing to be galvanized, perhaps we should be looking internally to see exactly what that means to us and how it's actually forwarding good or productivity in the world.
I mean, I'm sitting here listening to what you and Tori just said, and it makes so much sense, you know, but the problem is that we live under capitalism and we always forget that compromise and looking inward, there's no money in that. There's no way to get somebody to the polls after discovering their inner child, Jeff. The only way that this country works is on violence and war. Our main economy is cranking out tanks and fighter jets.
Warplanes,
and all the things that you're talking, Erica, you're never going to operate one of those. You're never going to touch a gun or be anywhere near one and don't care about, you don't have any issue with people that will.
Not at all.
But in order to get things done, in order to accrue power, They need to make it so that Tory is going to take your guns. I've always said, like, if you've just tried to think about it just logically, how would you go about doing that? We can't even get people to do the census. What, are you going to have somebody roll up in northern Idaho and say, yeah, I work for the college, I'm here to take all your guns? Like, it's an impossibility logistically. We all should know these things if you even think about it for a few minutes. We have to figure out the financial situation in which we live under and the best way to navigate, because the goodness that is in you guys, I think, is in a lot of Americans. Sam, you're like the sweetest person I've ever met. But, like, there's no money in that.
Right.
There's money.
But there's morals. You don't think there's any morals within the Constitution of American democracy? There's zero room for that?
In capitalism, there's nothing. The word capitalize, I need to figure out how to capitalize over Jeff so I can have more than him. How do I do that? By telling Erica, Jeff is going to take your house. By telling Sam, Jeff is trying to take your kids away. That's the way I get power. So until we figure out how to navigate under this system, all the love in the world isn't going to do much, and it's sad. I wish I wasn't the bearer of this news.
You're speaking straight
facts. There's a reason why we kind of had these weird little wars with these weird little countries. We need to crank out bullets and planes and soldiers.
You're right.